Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to actor David Giuntoli, the star of the rising new NBC drama Grimm, which airs Fridays at 9 p.m. Stick around, this show's got bite. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 900 archived celebrity and pop culture interviews for your listening pleasure. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of modified Grimms watching me very carefully in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. David Giuntoli isn't a household name in every American household, so far. But the star of NBC's fairy tale-derived horror story, Grimm, is recognized in just enough AC Nielsen-monitored homes to make his show the season's quiet breakthrough. As a Portland, Oregon detective named Nick Burkhart, Giuntoli plays the latest in a long line of supernatural detectives policing the strange creatures in his town. It's a wild show, packed with drama, genre-bending storylines, special effects, old-fashioned latex appliances, and smoldering sexuality. It combines elements of The X-Files, Lost, and even Chuck, at least in the sense that it's kind of an underground favorite hiding in plain sight on network TV. The good news is that even if you're just joining it, Grimm isn't difficult to catch up on. The writers have found a smart balance between standalone stories and ongoing narrative, so you could watch any episode, and the show airs Fridays at 9 p.m. on NBC, and previous episodes are available for free on NBC.com, and you'll know what it's about. And by the way, this is not Giuntoli's first genre role either. Early in his career, he made appearances on The Ghost Whisperer and Veronica Mars. David Giuntoli, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. I think that I will now have had every male member of the main cast on the show, so delighted to have you.
Sasha, Reggie, Silas.
Everybody.
And
yep.
Russell.
Yep.
Great.
Everybody's been here. Just laying the groundwork for you.
I'm loving it.
So I like the way you were described, or your character, I should say, was described in, I think it was last week's episode, as a modified Grimm. So for listeners who are kind of unfamiliar with your show, I wonder if you could first explain in general for them what a Grimm is, and then how you, as this Portland detective, are kind of a modified Grimm.
So our show is it's a police procedural. It's got a kind of a gory feel to it. But the thing that really sets us apart is that I am what is known as a Grimm. I find that out in the first episode. It's a reference to the brothers Grimm, who wrote these fairy tales, or what human beings know as fairy tales. What I found out in the pilot episode is that they were not telling fairy tales; they were profiling creatures and monsters. So, Goldilocks and or let's say Little Red Riding Hood. That was not a fairy tale, even though human beings take it as that. There's actually a wolf out there. And they do these types of things to people. So each creature has their own kind of nature. For the longest time, my ancestors would slay these monsters almost at will, and the monsters would try to kill us as much as possible. But we've entered a day and age where, there are Pilates and psychotherapists and things like that. So now there's a little more of a gray area. Some of these monsters are trying to reform themselves. They don't give in to their cravings. And as a Grimm, I am doing the same thing in a way. I'm trying to work with these monsters as much as possible. I don't want to cause them harm unless they are causing other people harm, and I'm not going to just indiscriminately go after them. Many of these creatures react to me like I'm, like they've seen a ghost and they run and they're horrified of me because that's my reputation. They've learned about me in storybooks throughout their lives as well as Grimm's have learned about them throughout, my life. So they're horrified of me. So I'm trying to moderate my behavior. I'm a modified Grimm, as I think Silas Weir Mitchell said.
Right, and it's not so far different in some aspects from even the Men in Black series, where the Men in Black, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, they know which are the good aliens and which are the bad aliens, and sometimes they get fooled, sometimes they don't. But they can see things that other people can't in these characters. So it's
no, that's actually very well. Most people haven't. I don't think people have made that connection. That is a very similar role that they have. No, that's spot on.
Does the gore ever get to you? I know obviously it's fake, but in your acting. But I mean, like watching last week's episode, I once or twice I went, "Oh my God, oh God."
Oh yeah, the vomiting spider was. But yes, it does. It does get to me. Obviously when we filmed them, it's kind of out of order, and I just had lunch with the actress who's gonna try to kill me. So there is that. But when I get on the set and I see a crime scene, I have a very visceral response. It's absolutely disgusting. Some of these corpses or crime scenes that are dreamt up and rendered really accurately and creatively by our special effects and the people who do like all the prosthetics. It certainly gets to me. There's no doubt.
Has the show gotten darker since you've started?
It started out a pretty dark show.
Yeah.
I think that the stories are trying to stay as dark as possible. I think that we want kind of gruesome and gory in there. I think they're just staying true to that. They do not want to make it lighter, as far as the crimes go.
Well, and David, the reason I asked you that, I was thinking that when the season started, we had Grimm and also Once Upon a Time over on ABC. And Once Upon a Time is clearly gone for that 8 o'clock, and it's a family show. Grimm is a 9 o'clock show, more adult. I wondered, when I asked if it's gotten darker, I was thinking, I probably should have appended that question to say, has it gotten somewhat darker to continue to keep it separate so people are clear that there's a difference between these two shows, which there is?
Yeah, I don't know the reason behind them keeping it the way it is. I think it started out with its identity, and I think the two shows are different enough, that they haven't been in quote unquote competition. Once Upon a Time is a lighter family show, and Grimm is a darker Friday night genre show. If that was in the writer's mind, they're doing a very good job of it, trying to keep these identities very separate. And I think that that's a good point. It's important to do that. We don't want to be confused with the other, So it is very clearly defined a different show.
Well, one quick question before we have to go. You're obviously shooting shows that are ahead of where we are here in February. Do you have a sense yet? Will there be a cliffhanger ending at the end of season 1?
There's going to be a cliffhanger ending. I spoke with David Greenwald, who's one of our creators, on Saturday. I was talking about this current script, and I was trying to get it out of him. He's like, "You don't want to know, do you?" I'm like, I want to know in the way I want to know what the present under the tree is, but I don't want to know, at the very same time. But so he didn't tell me. There will be a big one. I can only speculate as to what it would be.
All right, very good. Well, folks, you can see you can see David Giuntoli starring every Friday night at 9 p.m. And there's a reason it's a 9 p.m. show. Better not bring the young kids. It's on NBC. It's Grimm. David, do you have a website or Twitter, Facebook, any of those places people can find you?
You know what? I have a Facebook page, David Giuntoli, and then Twitter, I'm Mr. Giuntoli with Mr. spelled out. I didn't anticipate becoming the star of a show when I made that very difficult to find handle. But it's Mr. Giuntoli.
All right. Well, Listen, tell my good friend Reggie Lee I said hello, and thank you so much for joining us on Mr. Media.
Will do. Thank you so much. It was wonderful speaking with you.
Same here, David. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. For more original interviews, surf over to our main website, mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. If you've enjoyed today's show, subscribe for free to Mr. Media via email, RSS, or iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Another good idea, download our new free Mr. Media mobile app in the Android market. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many parts of the Internet. Show your support of Mr. Media by supporting our sponsors, including Audible. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. We're also supported by thepartyauthority.us. Call DJ Ira for all your party entertainment needs nationwide at 1-800-DIAL-DJs, or visit their website, thepartyauthority.us. If you've got an idea for a guest, a comment on today's show, or would like to advertise on Mr. Media Radio, email me directly at bob@mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. You can also call our 24-hour listener line at 1-727-498-4711. Some messages may be used in an upcoming show, and unless you live next door to Mr. Media, there may be a toll charge. You can also follow Mr. Media on Facebook, Twitter, or our new YouTube and Vimeo video channels. Thanks so much for joining us today. I always appreciate you sharing a piece of your day with Mr. Media. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
This is Kreskin. You know me as the Amazing Kreskin. Whenever I'm in Vegas, I enjoy picking up girls with Mr. Media.
Hey everybody, this is Bob Andelman from Mr. Media. First of all, I want to thank you for years of support listening to this show. We're starting our 6th year, it's hard to believe, our 6th year as 2012 starts, and heading towards our 1,000th online podcast, audio and video. It's pretty amazing, frankly. I remember starting it several years ago thinking, this will never last. And podcasts, that's as stupid a word as blogging. But here we are, starting our 6th year and heading up to 1,000 interviews. And I want to thank everybody for listening and supporting the show. I also want to tell you that one of the things that's been very helpful for this show is Stitcher Radio. Yes, this is sort of a commercial. Now, there are millions of smartphone apps in the world, but I only use one several times a day, Stitcher Radio. I build my own radio station to listen to broadcast and online shows when I want and in the order I want. CNN News Update, Onion Radio News, WTF with Mark Maron, MSNBC's Morning Joe, Studio 60, the TechCrunch headlines, and, of course, Mr. Media. It's free. It works on iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Palm Pre, and much more. And you can get it for free for yourself. Try it out. I guarantee you're going to love it. Stitcher.com/MRmedia. That's Stitcher.com/Mr. Media. You're going to love it. And thanks again for supporting the show.